Is Marvel stalling for Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? With Thor Ragnarok now in theaters, the MCU has officially reached the home stretch of Phase 3 with only one more solo hero movie, this February's Black Panther, before we hit the first half of the epic finale in Avengers Infinity War. But after that, the future remains increasingly unclear for our favorite box office crushing mega franchise. Post-Infinity War, we know we have Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel to look forward to, as well as whatever the heck Avengers 4 is going to be about. But after that, who knows? For a company that loves to pimp out projects years before they even begin shooting, Exhibit A, that extremely vague Rian Johnson-helmed Star Wars trilogy that got announced last week, Disney is staying curiously tight-lipped about Phase 4 of the MCU, and franchise mastermind Kevin Feige only added to the curiosity last week during an interview with Collider. When asked about when the public would hear anything about Phase 4, Feige responded, "It won't be for a while. Our focus is on the next 6 movies, finishing the first 3 phases, getting Untitled Avengers out in the world in May 2019, before publicly focusing on anything else." So why the secrecy? As we mentioned, it's always been the MO of the MCU and Disney in general to start getting fans excited way in advance of a film's actual release, and also to hype up those shareholders. So if they're keeping their mouths shut about these, there must be a good reason for it, and naturally, we have a few theories as to why. I'll give you a second, grab your tinfoil, take it into a hat, put it on, good. Number one, and the most obvious reason, is that Phase 3 is going to conclude a lot of our favorite heroes' journeys, with them biting the dust, or at the very least, retiring and living on some boring Hawkeye house. It's something we've been expecting for a while now, with certain stars like Chris Evans seeing their MCU contracts come to a close, and others like Robert Downey Jr. downgrading themselves from stars of their own movies to co-starring alongside other heroes, i.e. Spider-Man. But if it was just the old heroes stepping down, we don't think it would require this much secrecy, because as we pointed out, it's kind of expected. We think the real surprise is they're trying to hide who the new guard of heroes will actually be, who these new people that'll take up the mantles of old heroes are going to be. Maybe they're hiding the title of Cap 4 from us because it gives away the fact that Falcon or the Winter Soldier is going to be taking over command of the Shield, not the TV show, not the eponymous organization. No, Cap's Shield, the vibranium one. Maybe we're gonna meet Riri Williams in Infinity War, and that's why they're keeping us in the dark about Iron Man 4. It would make sense they wouldn't want to alert us to this new generation of characters before they give the first generation a proper send-off. Another option is that, well, nothing is really gonna change whatsoever, which we know seems like a weird thing to keep secret, except for the fact that they probably want to keep the tension intact for Infinity War, and if we know that everyone survives, then all the suspense is kind of dead, like Tony Stark at the end of Infinity War.
Your judgment is askew.
Spoiler alert. Honestly, this seems like the most unlikely option based on everything we've heard so far. Phase 4 really looks like it's going to be some kind of major upheaval for the MCU because after a decade, it probably needs one. But it's still a possibility, even if a slight one. A third option, and the one we find the most hopeful and maybe even the most likely, is that Marvel's holding off on announcing Phase 4 until they know for sure whether there will be some major characters returning to the Marvel family. Now, we got word last week that Disney had conducted talks with 21st Century Fox to acquire some of their assets, including their film division, which currently holds the rights to Fantastic Four and the X-Men. And even though that news was promptly overturned by word that Fox and Disney had stepped away from the bargaining table, it's entirely possible these talks could pick up again in the future. Why? Because we've seen this before. I mean, look at Spider-Man Homecoming. Talks were there, those talks died, and those talks were resurrected, kind of like Spidey in the 90s, and boom, Spidey's now in the MCU. So there's still hope that Fox and Disney can pick things up again and get Fantastic Four and X-Men back under the Marvel mantle. Now, if Marvel were in fact to get the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men back, they'd have a huge job ahead of them in terms of how to seamlessly incorporate them into the MCU. Each of Fox's borrowed Marvel franchises comes with their own unique brand of baggage. The 2015 Fantastic Four film was critically panned, somehow earning an even lower score on Rotten Tomatoes than the FF films of the early aughts, and X-Men, though currently in a state of renewal, still needs to prove that they're able to strike gold again following the successes of their edgier takes on the superhero flick, like Logan and Deadpool. Hopefully, though, they'll be able to prove their mettle with the upcoming X-Men Dark Phoenix, New Mutants, and Deadpool 2. One of these things is not like the others. And there's also the question of whether Marvel would want to risk upending the street cred they've earned after 10 years of churning out good to great superhero movies. Could they, in fact, skillfully get their first family back into the mix after they've had such terrible cinematic outings? And would the current darker tone of the X-Men universe even fit with Marvel's more upbeat, quippier good guys style? Ultimately, we have a ways to go before we know whether a deal will go through. Feige and Marvel remaining tight-lipped about Phase 4 seems to be a clue that there's going to be some exciting new changes to the MCU when the time finally does come. But what do you think? Will the MCU be forever changed by the end of Phase 3? Will the Fantastic Four ever be successful on the big screen? Add Danny DeVito as Mole Man, thank me later. And which X-Men power would be the most impractical, Jubilee? Let's discuss. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss one of our world-famous stories, theories, or breakdowns. If you're a YouTube viewer, smash that little bell. You get notified as soon as a new video pops up. And Facebook viewers, give us a like, won't you? Please. Also, did you folks get a chance to see our recut of the Justice League trailer as a 90s action TV show? Well, if you haven't, check it out right now. Not gonna say it's inspired by Buffy and the gang, but it might be. It is, it's not Hercules.